Hello, I'm Sebastian. Welcome to 9 Trees podcast. Today, I will summarize and review the book. Lost at School by Ross W. Greene examines why many students labeled as oppositional, defiant, or disruptive struggle in traditional school settings and how educators and parents can respond more effectively. Drawing on Greene's collaborative and proactive solutions approach, the book reframes challenging behavior as a signal of unmet needs and lagging cognitive skills rather than deliberate misbehavior. It explores how common discipline methods, especially those relying on rewards, punishments, and exclusion, often fail to improve outcomes for children who lack key skills in areas like flexibility, frustration tolerance, problem-solving, and emotional regulation. Greene argues that lasting change requires understanding the specific difficulties that lead to conflict and addressing them through collaboration. The book is widely discussed in education and parenting communities for offering a practical, compassionate framework that aims to reduce power struggles, improve classroom stability, and keep vulnerable kids connected to learning. I will give you key takeaways from this book. Firstly, challenging behavior as lagging skills, not bad attitudes. A central theme is the shift from viewing problem behavior as willful misconduct to seeing it as a symptom of lagging skills. Greene emphasizes that many children who explode, shut down, refuse, or disrupt are not choosing those responses in a calculated way. Instead, they often lack the cognitive and emotional tools to handle certain demands. These tools can include flexibility, language for expressing needs, the ability to tolerate frustration, and the capacity to consider alternative solutions under stress. In school, those weaknesses are repeatedly triggered by expectations such as transitions, group work, written output, or unclear instructions. The book argues that when adults assume motivation problems, they often double down on consequences, which increases stress and makes skill deficits more visible. By contrast, a lagging skills lens prompts adults to identify what a student is missing and teach or support those skills. This reframing also reduces blame and encourages adults to become investigators of triggers and patterns rather than enforcers of escalating discipline. Secondly, why standard discipline often backfires for vulnerable students. Greene critiques common school responses like detentions, suspensions, public reprimands, point systems, and zero-tolerance policies. For some students, these strategies can temporarily suppress behavior, but the book argues they rarely address the underlying causes of repeated incidents. A child who cannot manage disappointment, handle unexpected changes, or decode social cues may not learn those abilities from punishment. In fact, consequences can increase anxiety and antagonism, intensify adversarial relationships, and reduce the opportunity to practice new skills in supportive environments. The book also highlights how exclusionary discipline can damage academic progress and belonging, two factors that influence long-term outcomes. Another concern is that schools often interpret non-compliance as defiance when it may reflect overwhelm, confusion, or poor problem-solving. Greene encourages educators to consider whether their interventions are solving the problem or simply moving it out of sight for a while. Effective change, he suggests, requires replacing reactive discipline with proactive planning and collaborative problem-solving. Thirdly, collaborative and proactive solutions in a school context. The book presents a structured way to work with students before conflicts occur. Greene's approach centers on identifying specific unsolved problems and then collaborating with the child to find workable solutions. Rather than issuing demands and waiting for failure, adults gather information about the student's concerns, share adult concerns, and then brainstorm solutions that address both sets of needs. In a school setting, this might involve adjusting routines, clarifying expectations, reducing bottlenecks like unstructured time, or teaching replacement skills while maintaining academic goals. The process depends on empathy and precision, focusing on a narrow problem such as difficulty starting independent work or handling corrections, not broad labels like being disrespectful. Greene stresses that collaboration is not permissiveness and does not mean the student gets their way. It means solutions must be realistic for the classroom and realistic for the child's current abilities. Over time, this method aims to reduce explosions, improve communication, and build shared trust between adults and students. Fourthly, identifying triggers and unsolved problems systematically. A practical contribution of the book is the focus on mapping when and where difficulties occur. Greene encourages adults to look for patterns tied to specific demands rather than treating behavior as random or purely situational. This includes paying attention to times of day, subject areas, social contexts, sensory overload, and transitions. The goal is to define the problem with enough clarity that a solution can be designed and tested. For example, instead of saying a student is disruptive, the unsolved problem might be that the student has difficulty waiting during whole class discussions or becomes overwhelmed when multi-step directions are given verbally. This level of detail prevents adults from relying on vague interventions and enables targeted supports. The book also frames adults as part of the system, recognizing that classroom structures, communication styles, and workload can either reduce or intensify stress. By identifying triggers early, teachers can intervene proactively, adjusting expectations or providing scaffolds that help the student succeed before frustration peaks. Lastly, building a supportive school culture and aligning adults, Greene highlights that consistent progress often requires coordination among teachers, administrators, specialists, and families. When adults disagree on whether a child is manipulating or struggling, interventions become inconsistent, and the child experiences mixed messages. The book argues for a shared philosophy that prioritizes skill building and problem-solving over blame. This can influence staff training, referral processes, and how behavior plans are designed. Instead of isolating the issue in one classroom, schools can create routines for identifying unsolved problems, tracking solutions, and reviewing outcomes. The approach also supports stronger homeschool relationships because parents are invited into a collaborative process rather than contacted only when something goes wrong. Greene suggests that a culture shift can reduce the reliance on exclusion and create safer, calmer learning environments for everyone, not just the identified child. When schools treat challenging behavior as a learning problem, they become more capable of keeping students engaged academically while also improving emotional and social functioning. In conclusion, this book is well suited for teachers, school leaders, counselors, special education teams, and parents who are supporting children with frequent meltdowns, chronic noncompliance, or disruptive classroom behavior. It can benefit readers by replacing a punishment-focused mindset with a practical, skill-focused approach that aims to reduce conflict and improve relationships, while still honoring legitimate adult expectations. Readers often come away with a clearer way to define behavior problems, identify triggers, and create realistic solutions that a child can actually carry out. Compared to many behavior management books that emphasize incentives, consequences, or classroom control techniques, Lost at School stands out for its emphasis on collaboration, empathy, and precision in problem definition. It also speaks directly to the realities of school settings, where time, staffing, and safety constraints are real. For those seeking a framework that is both compassionate and operational and that can be used to keep struggling students connected to learning, it is worth buying and revisiting. If you would like to support Ross W. Greene, you can buy the book through the Amazon link I've provided in the podcast description. After reading the book, please let me know what you think and share your thoughts. See you around.